Hello, friend. I want to begin today's conversation with something a little unusual, not because it's taboo, but because it's rarely talked about openly, especially among older men. But before we dive in, let me introduce someone whose voice has brought clarity and compassion to this delicate subject, Dr. Michael Bennett. He's not just a doctor, he's a guide, a witness, and in many ways, a healer of the quiet struggles men carry in silence. For over 30 years, Dr. Bennett has walked alongside thousands of men, veterans, grandfathers, teachers, retired engineers, and everyday husbands, men who quietly wonder, is what I'm feeling normal? Is it okay to still want connection, even at this age? You see, this episode isn't about scandal. It's not about pushing boundaries or shocking content. It's about something far more sacred: your health, your dignity, and the right to feel whole, even in your 70s or 80s. Today, we're talking about male sexual health after 60. And yes, we'll speak plainly about masturbation, not as a joke, not as shame, but as a real part of your physical and emotional well-being. Because here's the truth, most men weren't raised to talk about these things. We were taught to be strong, to keep it together, to never show too much need or vulnerability. But here's what Dr. Bennett has learned from years of listening behind closed doors. Many men feel disconnected, not just from their partners, but from themselves. They may not say it out loud, but it shows up. In restless nights, in unexplained frustration, in the way joy quietly slips away without notice. And for some, it's tied to a loss of intimacy, not just with another person, but with their own body. Now you might be thinking, at my age, does this really matter anymore? Let me answer you plainly, as Dr. Bennett would. Yes, it matters, not because of vanity, not because of pride, but because staying connected to your body, even in small, private ways, helps keep your circulation, hormones, emotional balance, and sense of vitality alive. It's not about chasing youth. It's about honoring the life that still moves through you. Hesoes. You're not broken. You're not done. Hesoes. And no, you don't have to just accept fading energy, disconnection, or that nagging sense that this is all there is. There's a beautiful truth that Dr. Bennett always shares with his patients, one I want to offer you now. The body remembers how to feel joy. You just have to give it permission again. So in this episode, we're going to unpack what no one taught us. How healthy self-touch can support prostate function. Why emotional well-being is tied to physical pleasure. And how reclaiming connection, even through solo intimacy, is not shameful, but courageous. If this makes you uncomfortable, I invite you to stay. Because sometimes, the things we resist the most are the things that offer the deepest healing. You're not alone in wondering. You're not strange for feeling. And most importantly, you are worthy of understanding, care, and honest conversation. So take a deep breath. Settle into your seat. Let's talk about something that could change how you see yourself. Not just as a man, but as a living, breathing human being who still deserves to feel alive. Welcome. This is the beginning of something deeper, and I'm honored to walk with you. Let's talk about something that most men never get the chance to hear out loud. An erection is not the definition of a man. Yes, you heard that right. And maybe, just maybe, someone needed to tell you that a long time ago. You see, for decades, maybe your whole life, you've been taught that your worth as a man was tied to your performance. That being strong, virile, or man enough meant you had to always be ready, always be hard, always be in control. But let's pause and ask, who told us that? Where did that idea even come from? It certainly didn't come from wisdom. It came from pressure, from media, from silence, from years of avoiding the truth. Men age. And that's not a failure. It's a transition. And here's something beautiful that Dr. Michael Bennett often reminds his patients. What changes with age isn't your masculinity. What changes is how you express it. With more depth, more presence, more truth. Yes, erections may become less frequent, or softer, or harder to maintain. But that doesn't mean the end of intimacy. It's simply a new chapter, one that invites you to redefine what connection and pleasure really mean. Let me ask you, have you ever held someone's hand and felt more love than in a whole night of sex? Have you ever shared a slow dance in the kitchen, your heart pounding not from desire, but from deep, rooted affection? That's not less, that's more. As you age, intimacy becomes less about performance and more about presence. Less about mechanics and more about meaning. Think about this. Your body might be slower, but your capacity to feel, to connect, to savor, that deepens with time. And when you let go of the pressure to perform, something amazing happens. You start to feel more, not less. You begin to listen to your body, your emotions, your partner. You discover new forms of closeness, like touch, eye contact, whispered words, shared laughter, even stillness. And in those moments, something sacred opens. You realize pleasure is not limited to one function. It's a full body, full heart experience. And let me be clear, none of this makes you less of a man. In fact, embracing this shift makes you more of a man. More emotionally aware, more grounded, more available to yourself and those you love. There's a kind of quiet power in that, don't you think? Now, if you felt frustrated, even ashamed about changes in your sexual function, know that you're not alone. You're not weak. Now, you're not broken. Now, you're human. And like every season of life, this one brings its own wisdom. Now, you just have to be willing to listen, with fact. So today, I invite you to do something radical. Reclaim your pleasure, but not the kind the world told you to chase. Reclaim the kind that brings you peace, presence, and real connection. That might mean exploring touch without goals. It might mean speaking honestly with your partner, or simply with yourself. It might mean letting go of old expectations and stepping into a new kind of freedom. The freedom to feel, to slow down, to stay connected, not just to someone else, but to your own body. And that is real power. So take a breath, place your hand over your heart, and remember, you are still a man. You are still enough. And you still matter. Let's have a heart-to-heart about something that, even today, too many men feel ashamed to say out loud. Masturbation. Now, I know, even the word can make some of us flinch. Maybe you were raised to think it was something shameful. Maybe you still believe that at your age, it's not something you should be doing. But let me invite you to consider something deeper. What if self-touch, yes, even after 60, isn't about lust at all? What if it's actually about connection? You see, your body is more than flesh and blood. It's a memory bank, a nervous system, a well of emotion. The Furismaya does. And self-touch, when approached with awareness, can be a doorway back into your own body, a way to listen to yourself, to soothe anxiety, to process grief, to feel alive again. Dr. Michael Bennett often tells his patients, masturbation isn't just about pleasure. For many older men, it's about reclaiming presence in a body they've long ignored or felt betrayed by. That might sound strange at first, but think about it. How many of us have felt invisible with age? How often have we gone to bed lonely, not just for a partner, but for our own company? Solo touch, in that light, can be an act of kindness, not performance, not habit, but a moment of real connection. Here's the thing. Without awareness, any habit can become hollow. If self-pleasure becomes routine, automatic, or numbing, it loses its value. It stops being nourishing and becomes empty. But when you approach it differently, when you slow down, breathe, and treat yourself with care, everything shifts. Maybe you light a candle. Maybe you put on music that calms your soul. Maybe you just rest your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Ing, that's self-connection. That's healing. And yes, that can include touching yourself sexually, but it can also include simply being with yourself, without judgment, without rushing, without shame. You see, the real magic isn't in the climax. It's in the presence. Dias. It's in choosing to listen to your body instead of ignoring it. It's in feeling what needs to be felt, grief, longing, tenderness, joy. It's in giving yourself permission to matter, even when no one else is watching. If you've ever used self-touch to fall asleep, to calm anxiety, or just to feel something, you're not broken. You're human, and there's something powerful in that. Now, some men worry, am I doing this too much? Is this a sign something's wrong? And those are good questions, because like anything, it's about how and why you do it. Are you escaping your feelings? Or are you honoring them? Are you rushing through the motions? Or are you treating your body like it deserves tenderness? Awareness makes a difference. Awisebly, so here's an invitation. Try changing the way you approach self-touch. Let it be mindful. Let it be slow. Let it be sacred. Awisebly. You don't need a reason or an excuse. You only need permission. And friend, you have that permission now. Mein Fortschritt. There is no shame in seeking comfort. There is no shame in tending to your own heart. The truth is, masturbation after 60 can be a gentle rebellion against loneliness, disconnection, and years of silence. It can be your way of saying, I am still here, and I still belong to myself. That's not shameful, that's sacred. So tonight, or whenever you feel the weight of the world pressing in, pause, not to escape, but to return. Return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to the man you still are. Sepso ulawi. You are not alone. And your tenderness is not weakness, it's strength, it's presence, and it's yours to reclaim. Have you ever heard the saying, use it or lose it? For many men over 60, this phrase isn't just a clever line, it's a biological reality. And today, I want to speak to you with honesty, care, and hope about something most people never bring up. We don't often talk about what happens to our sexual health as we age. The world is filled with silence and shame around aging bodies, especially when it comes to men. But here's the truth. If you stop using your sexual function entirely, if you go months or even years without sexual activity, including masturbation, then yes, it can begin to fade. Now, this isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. Ayo. Sexual function, like muscle strength, memory, and flexibility, is something we can preserve with gentle, regular use. The good news? You don't need performance. You need presence. Let's talk physiology for a moment, just enough to understand. Your genital tissue, like all tissue, relies on blood flow and stimulation to stay healthy. Without it, the tissue can become less elastic, nerves less responsive, and erections less reliable. That's not about masculinity, that's about biology. Dr. Michael Bennett often tells his patients, you don't need a partner to stay sexually healthy, you just need intention. Masturbation isn't just about release. It can be a form of care, a way to say, I'm still here, I still matter, my body is still alive. But let me be clear, this is not about pressure. It's not about forcing yourself to stay active out of fear. Instead, think of it like tending a garden. A few minutes of gentle attention, a breath, a moment of presence with yourself. That's enough. This kind of regular, mindful self-touch helps maintain healthy blood flow, tissue elasticity, nerve sensitivity, and emotional connection to your own body. Have you noticed how often we wait for someone else to give us permission to care for ourselves? Hey, you don't need permission. You have the right to feel, to touch, to be whole. And here's a secret many men have told me. When they begin to reconnect with themselves in this way, even just once a week, they notice they feel more alive, more connected, less anxious, less alone. It's not magic, it's maintenance. And if you're wondering, isn't this selfish? Isn't this strange at my age? I want to gently challenge that thought. Would you ever think it's selfish to stretch your legs? To breathe deeply? To brush your teeth? Mana. Self-touch isn't about ego. It's about energy. It's about saying to your body, I see you. I honor you. I won't abandon you. You don't need to chase youth, but you can nurture vitality. So tonight, or tomorrow, when you have a quiet moment, ask yourself, what would it be like to explore my body, not for performance, but for presence? Not to prove anything, but to preserve something? That shift can change everything. And remember, this isn't about perfection. Some days you may not feel the spark. That's okay. Consistency, not intensity, is what sustains health. Masehaf. So take your time. Be gentle. Let each touch be a small reminder that you are still here, still worthy, still beautifully human. And that is worth keeping alive. And now, let's talk about something that often stays in the shadows. Not because it's shameful, but because it's misunderstood. Pornography. Now, before you click away or tense up, hear me out. This is not about judgment. This is about honesty, healing, and helping you reconnect with what's real. Many older men, especially after retirement or while living alone, find themselves turning to porn. It's convenient, it's private, it doesn't ask for conversation, vulnerability, or commitment. And at first, it can feel like a solution, a way to cope with loneliness, boredom, or changes in sexual function. But over time, something subtle and powerful begins to shift. You may notice that your excitement feels flatter, that real touch doesn't stir the same response, that your imagination, once rich and alive, now feels silent. You see, the brain is a remarkable thing. It's wired for pleasure, yes, but also for balance. Porn delivers intense, high-speed, high-volume stimulation. It floods your brain with dopamine, that feel-good chemical, in a way natural life just can't compete with. So eventually, what once thrilled you starts to feel dull, numb. And reality, with all its quiet beauty, gentle slowness, and emotional depth, begins to fade into the background. Dr. Michael Bennett, in his decades of counseling older men, has seen this pattern again and again. He says, when we overstimulate the brain, we desensitize the heart. Let that sink in. It's not about whether porn is good or bad, it's about what it does to your capacity to feel, to imagine, to truly connect, not just with a body, but with a soul. Here's a question worth asking. When was the last time you looked into someone's eyes, really looked, and felt that flutter of emotional intimacy? When was the last time a simple hug or a shared story made your whole chest soften? These are the moments that make us human. These are the real fuel of long-term joy and connection. But porn teaches the brain to skip the story, to ignore the emotion, to go straight to climax. No build-up, no bond, no breath. And when that becomes your primary source of stimulation, your natural response to real touch, real connection, real people begins to dim. But here's the good news. The brain is also remarkably resilient. With time, with care, with small consistent changes, you can retrain it. You can step away from the screen. Not out of guilt, but out of curiosity. You can return to touch, to stillness, to imagination. You can rediscover the quiet thrill of a warm hand, the dance of words before a kiss, the sacred energy of slow closeness. Try it. Try going a few days, maybe even a week, without any screen-based arousal. Instead, close your eyes and imagine. Let your mind wander. Let your breath guide you. Light a candle. Put on music. Read a poem. Touch your own body with care, not urgency. And notice what happens, not just in your body, but in your heart. Hey, Bun. Because here's the truth. As we age, we are not meant to chase intensity. We are meant to deepen intimacy. And that kind of depth, the kind that fills your soul and not just your senses, can't be found in pixels. It lives in presence, in patience, in people. So today, I invite you to make a gentle shift. Not because you should, but because you can. You can reclaim your attention. You can rebuild your sensitivity. You can rediscover the profound beauty of real connection. Take it one breath at a time, knock at a time. You're not too old. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be to begin again. Let's talk about something tender, something we often avoid, even when it whispers inside us. Self-touch, masturbation. Now, I know that word can bring up discomfort, maybe even shame. Especially if you grew up in a time when such things were labeled sinful, selfish, or immature. But what if I told you that in this season of life, self-touch can be an act of profound care? Not just physical care, but emotional, spiritual, even existential care. Because here's the truth, no one told you when you turned 60 or 70 or 80, you still deserve intimacy. You still deserve pleasure. You still deserve to feel alive in your body. And sometimes, especially in moments of solitude, you are the one who can give that to yourself. Not as a substitute for love, but as a practice of connection with yourself, with your memories, with your breath, with your being. You see, self-touch isn't just about arousal, it's about presence. It's about affirming to yourself, I'm still here, I'm still worthy, I'm still capable of feeling, and that's powerful. Many older adults, especially those who are widowed, divorced, or living alone, often feel their sense of sensual identity slipping away. Society doesn't talk much about desire after 50, let alone after 70. But that silence can create a dangerous illusion that your body no longer matters. And that's simply not true. Your body is still a sacred vessel. And touch, your own touch, can be a reminder of that. Dr. Michael Bennett once said something that stayed with me. Self-pleasure in later life isn't a replacement for love. It's a reconnection with life. And you don't have to rush it. There's no goal, no performance, just exploration, curiosity, presence. Have you ever lit a candle, put on soft music, and simply allowed yourself to be with yourself? No shame, no hurry, just breath, warmth, memory, sensation. It's not about fantasy or escape. It's about grounding. For some, it's about reconnecting with parts of themselves they thought were lost. Confidence, tenderness, desire. For others, it's a soothing ritual, a way to settle nerves, ease stress, or sleep peacefully. And guess what? From a medical perspective, it helps. Regular self-touch improves circulation, supports hormonal balance, releases endorphins, and even strengthens pelvic muscles, which is crucial for bladder and prostate health in older age. But beyond the science, there's the soul. Because every time you touch yourself with kindness, you remind your body that it still matters, that it still belongs to you. You may be aging, yes, but you are not invisible. You are not done. In fact, this stage of life invites a deeper kind of intimacy, one that isn't driven by urgency, but by awareness. It might feel awkward at first. Years, even decades of cultural shame can take time to unlearn. But start small, with compassion, with breath, with gratitude. You are not too old for pleasure. You are not past connection. And when you touch yourself with love, not lust, but love, you send a message back to your heart. I still belong to this life. So today, I gently invite you. Give yourself permission, not because you're lonely, but because you are alive. Because this body, right here, is still yours. And it still deserves care. If you've made it to this moment, you've probably realized that this conversation was never just about sex. Prishin, it was about something deeper. Prishin, more human. Prishin, Prishender, Prishin, and yes, more powerful. Because here's the truth that no one told most of us growing up. Self-pleasure, when approached with awareness, is not a sign of loneliness, shame, or failure. It's a quiet act of self-connection, a way of saying to your own body, I'm still here, I still matter. And as we grow older, that message becomes even more important. You see, aging isn't just about wrinkles or slower steps. Close. It's about identity. It's about navigating a world that often stops seeing you as fully alive, even when your heart still beats with longing, memory, and desire. And in that space, between what the world expects and what your soul still craves, something sacred can happen. When a man touches himself with gentleness, he's not just releasing tension. Arole, he's reclaiming a part of himself the world tried to silence. Hintailach. He's remembering that pleasure, dignity, and presence are not reserved for the young. They belong to all of us, for all of life. Think of it like this. You water a plant not because it's dying, but because it's alive. In the same way, tending to your own sensuality isn't desperate. It's mindful. It's maintenance. It's care. And more than that, it's spiritual. Yes, I said spiritual, because to honor your body, in all its changing forms, is to honor life itself. To stay in relationship with your own touch is to remain emotionally awake. To feel pleasure in your own skin is to resist the quiet lie that says, you're no longer enough. But here's where it gets even deeper. When you practice conscious self-pleasure, when you approach it with curiosity instead of guilt, with gratitude instead of judgment, something shifts. You start to carry that same care into your daily life. You speak with more kindness, napobia. You move with more ease, napobia. You love with more presence. It's not about chasing youth. It's about anchoring yourself in truth. And that truth is this. Your body still belongs to you. Your pleasure is still yours to explore. Your dignity is not tied to age. It's tied to awareness. So let's say it out loud. Perhaps for the first time in your life, self-pleasure, when done consciously, is an act of self-respect. Taitor. It's not a substitute for intimacy. Moenis. It's a foundation for it. Because when you can be at peace with your own body, when you can touch yourself, not to escape, but to arrive, you become more available to the world, to your loved ones, and most of all, to your own heart. So here's my invitation, friend. Don't see your changing desires as a loss. See them as a new doorway, one that opens not outward but inward. Go through it, gently, curiously, with presence and care. You'll find something waiting for you on the other side. Not youth, not performance, but something far more lasting. A quiet sense of wholeness, a deep breath of self-trust, a return to the man you were always meant to become. You're not alone on this journey. Subscribe and join us as we slow down, listen within, and live each moment more fully. If this message touched your heart, consider subscribing and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You are not alone. You never were.